Hello there. We are here with ProBots Season 2 or Season 1 of 2024, week number 2. Joining me today is Ban Yoshi. How's it going?
Hey, good. Excited to watch some bots.
Yeah, will be good. Ban Yoshi joining us as a caster today. I myself am Ender Sword, and I've been here forever. But yeah, also excited for this. We have a bot who is coincidentally named the similar name as me because people that steal names from sci-fi books are really cool.
A lot of
And
original people out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's it. Everyone just pick a. It's even as someone who does it, when other people do it, when you come across someone and they're like, "I'm Legolas," part of me thinks like that's stupid, but
You
I
still
did the
eye
same
roll.
thing. Yeah, it's always the case. It's like, well, that's not the one I like, so whatever. But yeah, we've got a good show for you tonight. I will take a look at our format for this season. We've gone with the GSL format here, doing group stages with a dual elimination. All matches are best of three, and the top two from each group advances. And that will go into a single elimination playoff format, starting with a round of 8. The quarterfinals, best of 3, semis, best of 5, and then finals are best of 7. And I think this is probably our good format. It has both the excitement at the end, but gives people the double elimination chance early on.
You
So
get a lot of
everyone,
matches,
yeah,
but it really matters at the end. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because I don't like ones that are double elimination like all the way through, because you get to the end and it's super anticlimactic because someone like has an advantage, or in a lot of cases the two players have already played before at that point,
Yeah.
and like so it's kind of like a, yeah, we've seen this um, sort of thing. But I think this gives us the best of both worlds, where we get to see at least two matches from everybody, and then then we go into cutthroat mode.
Yeah. I feel like, especially with bots, when they play each other again,
Yeah,
a lot of the times there's not much variety. A few
yeah.
matches there will be, but yeah.
Yeah, you can get stuff out of a best of 3, best of 5, but like once you're into like, okay, this is the 11th match they've
Second
played.
best of five. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gonna be much different than what we've seen. You've seen all the maps, so yeah, exactly. If we take a look at the groups that we are doing tonight, it's going to be Group C tonight. Benbot versus Ender,
Let's
and
go, Ender.
Ketrock. Yeah, Ketrock versus Perilous Protoss. And there's more to that. I think it's Perilous Protoss bot, but it doesn't fit in our bracket. And Group D, if we've got it, is going to be Zeno versus EPN Roach, and then Sharkbot versus Dovakin. Sharkbot Dovakin is the only matchup I think where both of the bots are ones that we're familiar with. EPN Roach, Ender, and Perilous Protoss bot are all new this season. So yeah, I don't have any particular expectations for them, but I think it's going to be interesting. And see, again, that long name is throwing off our graphics and making our versus not line up properly.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah,
I do like the name though.
it
Like the
is. It is.
alliteration, the diction.
Yeah, yeah. I might just call him PPB though. Yeah, something like that. Um, yeah, and I might call EPN Roach ESPN Roach just because it rolls. I'm more used to saying that. But yeah, of the ones that we do know here, Benbot versus Ender is going to be our first match. We were talking about this a little bit before the show started, but basically, you made the comment that if Benbot gets to BCs in a stable way, it usually wins.
Yeah, BCs are just so good, and especially against bots that kind of get, they don't really know how to defend something that can like poke in and out so
Yeah,
fast, and they just teleport in the back of the base, and it just looks rough if Benbot gets to where they want to be.
yeah, he's quite good at keeping them alive and kind of playing quite defensively. Benbot is never super aggressive, um, but just like stays alive, stays alive, stays alive, and then eventually wins. At some point, he's got like 16 BCs, and it can be overwhelming. On Ender's side, we've got really no idea what he's going to go with or what type of bot it is. I find that newer bots, kind of as we saw last week, tend to just go for rushes and kind of early game timings because they haven't been developed as long. I'm not sure how long Ender has been out there, But yeah, here we'll take a peek at the stats. Benbot with an 1825 ELO. It's one that's just slowly crept up to become better and better each season. With the 57, the win rate can be a little deceptive because there's two different divisions. So often, like a close to 50-50 win rate, but it's in the high division is more impressive.
The higher the elo, the harder you're going to be fighting against. Yeah,
exactly. So it's not a straight up sort of thing. And then the low crash rate, Benbot, pretty stable. And his opponent here, 1576, again, win rate below 50%, but fighting against some of the better bots. And yeah, we don't really have a sense of what to expect out of Ender, but I guess we'll find out.
Very exciting.
But I expect some sort of, well, it can go a couple ways because Benbot itself will often start out with the bunker rush, and it's really more of a bunker contain, but then that can sometimes win. So it's kind of a minor investment into a bunker contain, but it can sometimes trigger your opponent to do weird stuff. But particularly if you're playing against a bot that's doing really early timings and you've gone for proxy racks and stuff, you can get beaten because you don't really have anything at home to deal with it. So that's certainly a possibility, although Benbot sometimes doesn't do that and just goes for the straight defensive sort of thing, does not attempt anything aggressive, bunkers up at home, puts a bunch of widow mines and tanks around a bunker and just chills until it gets to BC. So we'll see. You have any predictions for this one?
I think if Ender goes like really hard lings early on, then I think there's a decent chance that Ender could take out Benbot. But like I said, yeah, if Ender's not really putting on the pressure and just lets Benbot do their thing, I doubt that they're going to be going into corruptors or something, like a real counter. And so I feel like if this goes past 10 minutes, I'm putting it on Benbot BC.
Yeah, I kind of think so, and I'd almost even short if it goes past like five. Yeah, then I think that's probably the case.
Give your game's sake a little more, come on, Ender.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know. There's something about Ender joining up with the bug side that's
doesn't sit right.
Yeah, it's counter Ender. I guess he did in the later things, but still, I don't know. Don't join the queens, Ender. Don't join the queens. Let's jump into it now, and we'll find out.
Ender. Benbot BC.
And it does look like Benbot is going for those early proxies, or at least the one barracks out. And again, he does do this kind of with the minimal effort, but we've got a couple of lings coming across. There is a Marine already there. That's interesting.
I just said the lings was completely ignoring it.
Yeah, it seemed like they were going to jump on him, but it was not to be the case. But one ling, at least finding the SCV, is going to slow down getting a bunker or anything up. Although one has been started there.
I was gonna say they didn't finish. I love that the lings are out, but the actual ling micro is very interesting of what it decides to actually attack and how it's trying to attack. Because it put on like some damage on that SCV, but I think the SCV survived.
It did. Yeah, it did. It's almost like they're like, I'll attack anything that's directly in my way. And then if you go slightly outside of that, then I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah, I guess you don't want it chasing for forever, like late game or I guess like just not early game against like Hellions or something. But man, it would have been a really good jump on to start in those first Marines that were coming out.
Yeah, for sure. It does look like this has triggered at least the response of him bunkering up back at home instead. And there's a bunch of lings out and doing stuff, but they're not really doing anything of any particular importance. They're not making their way across the map. There is a full bunker there. So if he's able to get this wall up in particular, there's not going to be much that's happening.
At least protect the Overlord.
Yeah.
Lings, but not one at a time.
The lings are really good at running in circles. They've done this a bit. And I think he's I think he's there trying to block bases in particular.
That's what I would
but,
guess. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like there's any response for what Ender's actually seeing. You know, it seems like this would happen regardless of what the Terran was doing, or even if it was a Protoss on the other side. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he is at least scared enough of the bunkers, and here comes the classic Benbot double
bunker. I love it.
Double bunker formation. So it's probably going to prevent anything from really getting in there. But you know, Ender, it's not just a straight Ling rush. He did go for a hatchery, although he's taking kind of the forward one there.
Yeah, I wonder if the SCV was still over there, kind of being annoying, and just
possibly
triggered Ender to take that third. But at least, it is not full on Lings, and actually Roaches are now coming out soon.
Yeah, Roaches, if he can get Roaches down before there's like Widow Mines and tanks in place, then that could still be okay. But 2 bunkers is a fair bit to get through.
I'm hoping that he goes into like Ravagers to deal with the bunkers. I feel like that would be pretty nice for how defensive Benbot's trying to be.
Yeah.
But we'll see when the Roaches actually come out, because he doesn't have the most gas right now.
Yeah, definitely not. And they're not super expensive, but and a lot of it will be like, how well does he attack together? He's got a bunch of Lings, and are they gonna know to like hold until a wall is broken and then kind of flood, or are they gonna? A lot of bots will just kind of move everything in.
Yeah, and the early that early micro of the Lings makes me more afraid that it's the latter.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see if he has maybe when he has a larger army supply, it'll change kind of what the strategy is.
I like here how that Ling was moving. It's moving in these patrol circles.
And I think another one's on its way. Yep.
Yeah, it's coming back to do it. It's setting the points, and that's causing it to do a circle in the middle. So it never actually gets to the point that it's attempting to go to.
I do like these setups just to kind of have them everywhere. Like when you see Cyril, you know, you have 7 individual Lings just patrolling a bunch of different spots on the map, and I feel like for map control and presence, that's just so strong.
This basically looks like it's a cat chasing a laser pointer. And it's at least kind of disrupting. I don't know whether Benbot actually really does intend to take the space at the moment, but he keeps sending SCVs down to deal with it, and then pulls the entire army out to clean it up. If he can like catch the army when it moves out like that, then that could be interesting. But he's not showing any signs yet that he's actually going to attack with these. I expected something a bit earlier. Like I expected like a 7 Roach push or something, and it's obviously not that.
I'm like almost expecting now to just like max out on Roaches or something, now that he's already held it back 44 army supply of almost just Roach.
Yeah, because there's enough there at the moment that this would really get melted. Although both armies seem to be moving out across the map now and are going to catch at the bottom of this ramp. And but off creep a little too slow.
Yeah, and there are concussive shells, but there are only 2 Marauders. So I'm kind of surprised that Stim or something else wasn't researched before the Marauder upgrade, just because of the numbers of units. But this is a great fight from Benbot BC. This is not what you want to be doing with Roaches.
Yeah, had he done it without the extra bunkers there and stuff, I think he was gonna get hurt a bit. But yeah, he never should have come into that meat grinder location. There's even Widow Mines now behind this, so had he even broken in or stepped in, would have gotten annihilated behind that. And it seemed like there were no Lings left with any of this, so he must have had all of that whittled down.
Yeah, and I feel like now at this point, Benbot's pretty free to just get into his BCs. I don't think anything that Ender, you know, comes up with army-wise is going to be able to penetrate him for a while now.
Yeah, definitely agree there. And yeah, the army supply definitely in Benbot. Like he could probably do a counteroffensive now if he wanted to, but I think he's just going to secure extra bases.
I was going to say, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
the BCs aren't out. He's not trying to move across the map. No. But yeah, he's definitely going to be able to, I feel like, defend at least all Roachling attacks. I'm curious to see if Ender will try to tech into anything else. Like Muta to be annoying, or I don't know. Anything other than just Ling Roach, because I feel like Marine Marauder is a pretty if they have the number
Yeah.
advantage, it just is
Oh, yeah,
never going to
it's-
work for the Zerg.
He's also not really spreading any creep or anything, so having an army that's kind of based on like mobility like that is not going to work well if you don't have any coverage of anything.
Which I feel like with bots, the creep spread is one of like the greatest parts about
Yeah.
Zerg bots. Is like I remember one game that you were casting and I was observing. I think there was like 200 creep tumors, 500 creep tumors, something absolutely
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah,
And
you
that
can do
really
it.
helps just taking over the entire map with not just map presence of like knowing what's going on, but yeah, the actual speed boost of Ling Roach is probably where it's most crucial. You know, those two units
Yeah.
really value that speed.
Exactly. And just the visibility that it provides too. You can basically see the entire map once you're like 10 minutes into the game. And being able to do that is good. Having the Raven with this army to take out the burrowed roaches is going to be pretty key. And is Benbot going to push the issue this time? He's definitely fairly overwhelming.
Yeah, and he's
And
about to cross that halfway point of the map, so maybe there is something that triggered him
yeah,
that
to
makes
go.
that he can just end the game here, which, I mean, totally can.
Yeah, just catches all those roaches basically in single file and coming up a ramp. And the second half of the army here may backstab a bit, but I think even with the army completely out of position, this is enough to hold everything really, really easily.
Yeah, the setup that you were talking about with double bunker, widow mine, and tank, it's just not going to be taken down by a little hit squad. It really takes like a full army, and at this point, Ender doesn't have a full army. Like he only has hit squads now. It's 30 army supply total.
Yeah, he's lost like 60 supply for essentially nothing in that. And it does look like Benbot is going to force the issue and kind of come across. There's a weird base location there down to the south.
Yeah, the expanding
the
pattern. I guess
gold.
this one's a gold, so it makes
Yeah.
more sense. But the expansion pattern of Ender
Yeah,
is very odd.
was odd.
So far.
Yeah.
And this spore setup also just a very peculiar. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly what prompted this. Maybe it was like a Benbot specific thing. I don't know how long they've had the groups, but maybe just build some spores to protect. I guess the creep tumor. I mean, all three were around one creep tumor.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's like a high ground spot that you have to wrap around to get at. So it kind of makes sense. It just kind of, what's it really for? Maybe to pull things in with Vipers later on, but that's like way in the future. Either way, he just kind of stormed through it, and now taking out the base here.
The third/natural.
Yeah. Stimming definitely deep red, but and there's not a whole lot of medevac support energy left with this, but it's not really going to matter as there's nothing that can actually get damage on these things.
Just don't stim again.
Yeah,
Just let him breathe.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, especially with the bot micro of all the individual units, Marines just look so good when they have the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. He's kind of spreading his army out as things come in from different angles, but it all seems perfectly fine to deal with these little bits and pieces. And they're expanding into the bottom two corner bases as well, but they're not really up and running yet, and they probably won't get to.
The Ravagers come out now, but I feel like those were really what Ender needed earlier on.
Yeah.
I mean, where they fought, he still would have lost the fight because they fought in the middle of the map, and Terran got to kite him. It's almost like a Protoss versus Terran where you get the Blink Stalkers, and if you fight at your base, you're going to lose because there's nowhere to go. But if you fight them in the middle, you just run all day and pick off what you can. And so either way, I think Ender was going to lose that big fight that they did have in the middle a while ago, but I really wish he would have gone Ravagers earlier and held out a little bit longer.
Yeah, because I think he could have pushed, like there's a point that Benbot was retreating back home, which is fine. And it would have been a chance for Ender to get the high ground, kind of create a concave outside the bunker wall. And then do like Ravagers and kind of, now you're having Benbot having to break out of a choke point of its own making into your stuff, and that could at least be a contain for a bit. But yeah, not the case. You just can't fight into that stuff.
Yeah, fighting mid-map, no creep. It's just not going to be good. especially with this, normal people, it's already bad, but with the perfect micro of just run back Marines, it is extremely brutal.
Yeah, not gonna go well. It's gonna take a while for him to clean everything up here. Benbot still never. It's not really like a go for the kill sort of bot. It's more of a like take things and strangle you out. So it has a hard time like just finishing decisively, but it will just eventually do so. So it never gets aggressive, but eventually just kind of chokes everything. And I don't know if he's okay. Now he's aware of these bases. And,
I love that
nice.
Ender GGs. That's kind of cool. I feel like I haven't seen that
pretty
from
good
bots very often.
I know not many of them really do it, because then you can, if you've got code into resign, then people can start playing to your resign condition.
Oh yeah.
Right. So like you can kind of game what that condition is going to be, and then you could like base trade to trigger it.
Yeah. Just attack like the pool or something, and if they lose the pool, it's like, oh, I'm probably dead.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we've seen one or two cases where like a bot has tapped out when they weren't actually losing, or like it was like a draw or something. But
which happens in real life. Sometimes you get a weird game and people don't really know what the state of the game is. Yeah. And you see sometimes pro players tap out because they lost some engagement, but their opponent has like 3 workers left.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all the ultimate meme, of course, is the "it was Haluk" situation. Between Chris and Huck and Idra.
Those are hallucinated, right?
Yeah, that's so. I was talking to someone actually. So my trainer at like the gym, another dude that works there, like came in and I mentioned like StarCraft, and he was like, I used to watch that like when it first came out and stuff. He was like, there was this guy that played this game where he made like this army that was completely hallucinated, and his opponent just left, and like that was the one StarCraft thing he remembered from like 10 years ago. I'm like, yeah, we've transcended.
How could you forget that? Yeah,
the StarCraft memes in the gym community.
That is the game. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the wombo combo from Smash, where it's like people in other games know what that is, even if they've never heard of any player, don't know who did it, but they know the story.
Yeah, definitely. It's everything makes like the top 10 like esports fails or whatever. And so people know. So we'll jump into game number 2 here, see if Ender can get a little more aggression, a little more decisively quicker, and see how it goes.
Ender. Ender.
Played the same name for both of these, but that's okay. He's proxying again.
It's very similar to game 1. Pool is out, no natural.
Now is the path gonna, this time he gets this bunker down a lot quicker, and that didn't happen before. We had Lings already, so he built the bunker at home and he never attempted the contain.
Lings.
This could they just ignore it.
Come on. I was about to say maybe this is almost better, because now the SCV won't run away from the Lings when they attack it, and they'll actually be able to kill the SCV before it finishes the bunker.
Okay, now they're going.
They just completely ignore it, and this is the time that they decide to take their natural at the natural.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
very unfortunate.
And I think that's gonna be a bit close. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's close enough to shoot. So it's going to contain the Lings in. Ooh. There's not enough that got out that it's gonna do any damage or anything. So this one may be a quicker one.
Yeah, this would feel really good if what was going on Ender's side of the natural wasn't happening.
Yeah,
having 6 workers try to chase you down is kind of nice, but. Oh, this is a really rough position.
Yeah, he is pulling back the Marines to do this, so there's only the 1 Marine in the bunker, but that's plenty at the moment. He'll eventually get it.
For 2 Lings at a time. I mean, it's just he'll never
Okay, yeah,
massive.
there's a second. So yeah, probably none will get through from this point out.
Yeah, I mean, it was like what you were saying, where if the bot has the, coding to hold back units to get a strong little clump,
Yeah.
then this is totally doable. Not that scary. You want pull first. Okay, here's.
All right, are they going past
some
though? They're not
links.
going past. Like if those just ran by, then you've got something going on, but they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I almost didn't hate taking out the SCV first, but now just like running around the bunker while not attacking the bunker
Yeah,
just seems like
a good
run
look.
past it, like you were saying,
Yeah, you gotta really go for one or the other.
Oh,
now drones attacking it.
my
Lives
whittle
in the
heart.
green. And it's this too is the other part of it is even when they're getting through, they're not even coming over to attack. They're coming over to like block bases and stuff. And like
and get
why?
killed by
Why?
SCVs slowly.
Yeah. So like why is that your goal? And that seems like it is their goal. Like they're not really attempting to like flood in or anything.
I just don't feel like there's much response or like stimuli taken into account.
Yeah.
It seems like Ender would do this regardless of what his opponent does.
Yeah.
Every time. It looks so similar to game 1, but worse because of Benbot's situation, getting the location up fast.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's usually pretty patient with this sort of contain that he'll just sit there until like a tank comes and until a widow mine comes, and then eventually like he'll put a turret up there. Like he just kind of secures that position as long as he can, but he never really intends it to win the game. It seems to be meant as a delay to then help him get into the BCs.
Yeah, I mean, even like what you were saying at the end of the last game, he kind of just takes out the peripheral bases and then just waits. You don't have to go in and risk an overcommitment or something like that.
Yeah.
And getting the natural, I mean, it already did what it needed to do like tenfold. Benbot's in a phenomenal place right now.
Yeah, we see the units and resources lost there, and many times over. Is that the last lane? I feel like finally cleaning up like the last ling that's being annoying can help him maybe go on the offense, but he's still got one chilling there.
We'll send 2 more past the bunker, and 1 will get past.
Yeah, roaches will come in now and get picked off, and he's just trying to rebuild the same hatchery, but it's still under fire. So it's never gonna get up.
I hate that. The one thing I do, and there's no cancel. Yeah. The one thing I do really like from Ender is that when there's an SCV repairing, they do target the SCV, which I think like even live players in like Diamond sometimes they just keep going for that bunker, and it just breaks your heart watching the units die and no damage being done. So that I will commend Ender. Everything else about the bunker play has been pretty not great.
Yeah, no. Yeah, definitely. You gotta, and I think he's just gonna. I assume this drone's just gonna try and rebuild this again.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
There's just no response from like what is happening in the game, which I mean, I'm sure it's hard. I
it's
made my own
than,
bot.
Yeah,
I have no
exactly.
doubt.
It's harder said than said, but that's often the case with the new bots. They just have to code to a certain point as a static thing, and then they try and adapt a bit later, but then eventually you have to go back and be like, okay, the first like 9 step, and that's often the easiest way, like to be like, well, the first like 10 things in my build, just make them that way, and then we'll deal with what do I face. But eventually you find that no, people can disrupt you at like the 3rd step. You can't do that. Or very often people will, and what less prominent now, but people would have conditions in place like when I'm at 16, they would build it like you do as a human player, like at 16 drones, do this. But if something gets in and starts killing 1 drone, you never hit 16 drones. So you never do the next thing. Benbot coming in, taking everything else out here. Speaking of which, there are 0 drones, of course, and resigning now.
Probably a good GG. Probably a good
decent one. Yeah. I wonder if I guess he still had drones in the last one. I was wondering what
Oh,
his
that's a
condition
condition.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
It
it's
may
like a
have something
zero
to do with
drone.
the pool or like
Yeah.
lack of all tech structures,
Yeah,
because
something
that
like
pool went
that.
down too. Or maybe even just the main base actually dying, because I think both the actual hatch,
He had
think was
one
taken.
left last because he had two in the bottom corner and one of
but
them
not
was
his
still
main
alive.
one.
Yeah,
Oh
his
well,
main one.
but it didn't
Yeah, his
put
main
out
one
right
was gone.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but either way, there you go. So Ender having some, I don't know, potential, does a couple things right, but Benbot's a tough one, and Benbot again pretty provocative early on. Like when somebody's like proxying you and stuff, you often don't get to see what the new bots are trying to do because everything they're trying to do is disrupted by that sort of early play. So it was hard to tell what Ender was really going for because in the first game he eventually got up to 6 bases.
And some
So you're,
Ravagers and
yeah. So you're like, was he going for like an end game thing, which is unusual for a new bot, but or what? So and then we don't really get a sense from this one either with the contain. So hard to know where he was going with it, but usually you don't do like an early 24 lings into 6 hatchery late game.
Yeah, well, it was after that failed attack with like, I mean, he had like 40 to 50 army supply of like
roaches,
that just got eaten up, and then I think he expanded. So maybe there was some sort of mid push. If it doesn't work out, go back home. But
yeah, something like that. So
rough.
We'll maybe in the future, and I'm just
that
looking
ProBots name.
I know. I was just going to say that again. It's just going to break
so
every
perilous.
graphic we have. So
because then you scale to inner balance, and then then it's this big.
Yeah, but somehow you broke Ketrock though. So yeah, well now you deleted the wrong name there. So it's going to be catching. Right? let him cook. Let him cook.
This is where we play by play.
Yeah, you got to do something.
Oh, it's not that group.
Yeah, so our next matchup is going to be Ketrock versus Perilous ProBots bot. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's always tough. You get the ones that we kind of know are the veterans and are pretty good, and against the new guys that I don't really know what to expect. So I've got to think that Ketrock is going to be perfectly fine in this one. But again, you don't know what makes this ProBots bot so perilous is really the question.
Love an underdog story. And I'm a ProBots main myself. So
Me too.
I'm kind of rooting for the Perilous bot.
Yeah, always got to go ProBots. I hope the Peril is like proxy Tempest. Cannons would be good too.
I love some Tempests.
Yeah, Tempests are fun. Tempest one, me and Ketrock were talking about it last week of like, it seemed to be the meta for a couple seasons of this, at least 2 or 3 seasons of ProBots. Then no one really figured it out, but people just stopped doing it. But I never felt like it never got like beaten. It just kind of went away. Ketrock had some coding of like, if he could get enough Vikings, they would just YOLO against them and defeat like the idea of them kiting you forever. But you still needed like an overwhelming amount to get there. And if they got ahead of you, then it was hard to come back against. But I feel like people just kind of stopped doing it without it ever actually being beaten.
Tempests do feel like that kind of like why BCs are so strong of like being able to poke in, get out, and kind of mess also with the bots, like when they want to attack something but they're getting hit and then they want to retreat and just staying in that constant like basically patrol. I feel like Tempests are that times a million. The range is so ridiculous.
For sure, because it generally like with bot stuff, range rules often. Like because you get someone on the edge of danger, and they do that bounce in and out. You see that with tanks a lot too. People will walk into range and walk out. Also,
or the planetary fortresses.
They just go around the edge. Bots are really bad at committing. Like if a human's playing against air like that, you like stim up to it, get right under it. Bots also have a very big tendency to want to attack at their max range. They don't close in.
They're attack moving, and so they never if you have 4 Marines, one Marine's hitting at a time and then all 4 running back because they got hit.
They don't get aggressive in, and I think against that sort of thing you need to like jump them, get underneath them so that they can't get away and take them out. But let's see what happens. None of that may happen. Probably not really.
There's not going to be a Tempest made.
No. So let's see what really happens in game 1. Apparently, we don't have the intro. So down here on the bottom right-hand corner, we've got our red Terran player. It is Katro. Okay.
And in the top left, we got the blue Protoss going Forge first. Well,
Yeah.
no, not Forge first. We're a little bit into it. But it is Perilous Protoss bot.
I feel like we're starting the games like a little in now, which I don't object to, because who cares about the first 30 seconds of a game?
Yeah, but then it takes me a second to be
yeah.
like, oh,
yeah,
it
I
is.
thought that too. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, you're right. It's going to be a cannon rush. Then I'm like, no, there's a
It's like
cyber
Cyber's
core already
finishing
done.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so he's walling off with that cyber core and gateway.
Alright, Zealot first, I really don't like unless he's going to do something with it like right now. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves of like trying to coach, new players. They want units out, and I feel like one of the biggest things about Protoss is you want to wait building Zealots for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, until they have charge, you don't want to sell it.
And committing to one base. Is that a full wall? No, you got one little section.
Yeah, one gap. He's cannoning himself for defense. Decent position on the cannons, I think. But going for a Stargate as well. So I'm kind of now like, what was the Forge for exactly?
Yeah, well, and I feel like these cannons are like really good against like Zerglings or like Zealots. Like they're at like the melee range of the wall, but Marines will just not get hit by that and be able to shoot everything.
From
other than the pylon. And so many early Zealots too. Could have been a natural expansion if.
I think, we'll see where he's going because he's now adding a Stalker on, but like Zealot Void Ray is kind of a thing. But now we've got a
Speed
fleet
Void Ray, maybe. I mean, it's gonna be weird. And like you can't go carrier off one base, like that would just
it's too much gas, too much time too.
So I'm very curious to what the what the idea is.
Yeah, he also like that Forge was down, but he has not started an upgrade on it. So
I mean, it was just defensive. Which if you're going defensive Forge, get a natural. Cannon up your second or third base. It seems crazy to almost full wall off one base and cannon and tech and fleet.
I think the other thing too, which I think is more general advice for everyone, if you're going defensive Forge, don't. Because that's not a thing, and that doesn't make any sense. Like
step one,
very rarely is that good. Against Terran in particular, that doesn't mean anything, and you'd be better off with shield batteries usually than cannons. But whatever. But so basically don't. Looks like maybe I guess he's gonna expand now.
Yeah, gonna go to the expansion. Going into kind of that like Max Paxi Protoss mech of Robo and a Stargate. So I guess like Tempest, Immortal, maybe eventually Colossus or something.
Maybe, it's hard to afford. I hope he gets an Observer or something out because there is a Banshee as well.
That could be really bad.
No cloak or anything, but there is.
That mule was trying to repair or something.
I don't know what he's doing there. Maybe it was the near dead. Zealot's going to wander across just to take a look at what's going on, get shot, and immediately
Did he send one to that natural or the third base? He may be able to at least
I don't think he saw. He's just going to walk back home. I don't know. Hard to quite tell. It's certainly not like a polished build order on Perilous' side. He's kind of going for everything, and the problem is you can't afford everything. Particularly in the order he's done this.
If you could have expanded at the very beginning, if you're gonna go Forge, just go greedy. Do like really early natural, get a third base fast, and then I love Robo Stargate Protoss mech, turtley. As he's doing it now, it's like 6 minutes in, you got 2 Tempests, 2 Zealots, and 2 Stalkers. It's just like not a standing army. 10 Marines, I think, would take this out.
I think easily, especially since, again, everything's not together. This is a problem we often have with like new bots and stuff too, is everything just goes and then it goes at its own speed and they don't go as an army. These are engaging now. if everything was with it, then he probably would win that little fight, but has to retreat instead because it's completely spread out.
Love this from Ketrock, being able to see the
Yeah.
Tempest going into Vikings, and then hopefully doing what you were talking about earlier, where Ketrock has actually implemented that if you have this number, to full send the Vikings and not try to play the kiting game or the spacing game.
Yeah, for sure. There's a few opportunities where he could attack and get some damage done here, but it just requires moving the army in the right way, and it's just not grouped or in the place to do that.
Yeah, I feel like honestly it's mostly keeping the ground army in one spot to defend the Tempest, and then just poking in with the Tempest while you can, because these Liberators are also... No ground army is going to do much with these Liberators. I feel like the way that bots try to attack units, Liberators seem extremely scary.
Yeah, they're quite good if you get them in the right place. A lot of people seem to struggle with getting the Liberators to siege up the right areas, but if they're just static, then they're really good. Yeah,
Liberators are kind of weird with, it depends on not only where you set the circle, but where your Liberator is before you set the circle.
Exactly.
Which, I can see that being very big. But
you have to have it like behind. A lot of them end up doing it where it's off to the side, or like the Liberator gets in front of where it wants to be.
Like in range of stalkers before the Liberation Zone even comes into play.
Yeah. I don't know why he's killing these rocks, but he is.
For his Tempest, so that the Tempest can move nice and easy across the map.
Easier path. I mean, he's still not, like, the army supply, it's a bit in Ketrock's favor. The overall economy definitely in Ketrock's favor, but there's still an opportunity here that if he can kind of get something going, then it could be good. I don't really like the Disruptor as part of this. I don't see that being much of a play.
And the thing you're talking about.
Yeah, here it's happening, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, it just works. He's got overwhelming numbers, so he just goes. And again, if there was an army to like defend this, then that's good. But there's 2 stalkers.
That's also the most fluid I've ever seen Vikings shoot.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's probably 20,000 APM, but I've never seen Vikings like... It's not even a stutter.
Yeah, it feels like they're just on the move. Yeah,
that was even more impressive than I expected it to be. And now the Tempest count completely reset. And like you said, the Disruptor, I feel like maybe against a very early bot, maybe that's, dodging a Disruptor shot isn't something that you think about. But I feel like Ketrock, if he's already thought about, Vikings chasing Tempest, if the bot's made to dodge the Disruptor shot, you're going to get 1 unit every shot. Like, you're not going to outsmart that,
Yeah, and there's not even a lot on the ground for Ketrock in most games anyway. So, not the type of strategy you want. Really good Liberator placement here again. Seems to just have that kind of statically coded into both bases to cover it off.
Raven Viking just looking so deadly. Probably one of the best counters to this kind of a Protoss mech.
Yeah.
Of, interference matrix and shooting everything down in the sky.
Yeah, he's really good with those the turrets dropping too to distract everything. And it just kind of looks like Perilous is a bit aimless on what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, which makes me wonder what if everything goes perfect, what that even is supposed to look like. Because I just don't see 2 Tempests, 2 Zealots, 2 Stalker. Like that. The army composition is just not one that I would aim for.
Yeah, it's just not enough of anything. And I think the Stalker part in particular, especially since there wasn't a big mass of them that was like going counter Viking or anything, that everything he's trying to do is taking too much gas. And that's just going to be way too limiting. And they're
if you're not going into Blink like right away, building at this point probably it's been like 7 Stalkers or something is just such an investment when you're also investing into the double tech of the Robo and the Robo Bay, the Stargate and the Fleet Beacon. It's just so much.
This one may be a little better. Now he's going over a whole field of Stalkers, and the Tempests are actually kind of kiting him a bit. So
And
this will reset the Viking count.
the stalker number is kind of getting up there.
And
which
he
is
is
kinda nice.
getting blink now. That might help.
But man, the base, the bases from
Yeah.
Katro, and just the
Yeah.
map saturation is getting a little bit out of hand.
yeah, he's everywhere, and he's trying to. Perilous keeps just trying to add on like there's an immortal, like one. There's always a problem with stuff like, particularly as Protoss, getting one of something is never good.
Yeah,
Because
we're not
the
trying to Noah's
investment
Ark
yeah,
over here. You don't want two of everything. That's not a good
Exactly.
plan.
yeah, it's hard to do because it's such an investment to get to these things that it's just a waste.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like if Zerg, if you build a baneling nest, you want to build more than one baneling because you've built the nest. Now is where it kind of starts paying off because now you have that technology. But yeah, if you get to that technology, use it for one,
Yeah,
warping.
it's the accounting principle. You get to amortize these things.
Yeah.
Over time, to divide the cost of the building by the number of units that you made with it is kind of the thing. And it doesn't seem like he knows how to use the disruptor.
Yeah, he's A moving it.
Yeah, so it doesn't know that it doesn't attack or something. It did shoot
Which
its
Colossus
thing, but it just kind of moved in.
I would not mind like a Tempest Colossus type, but yeah, the disruptors, even if you did know how to use it, just seemed like not the move against bots. It's
He did something that I thought he was doing right there. He blinked into the tank, but then didn't target the tank.
I was gonna say all the units were underneath the Liberator,
Yeah.
so it looked like it was a really good setup.
Yeah,
But then he just fought a little bit of the Liberator, a little bit of the Planetary
SCVs,
Fortress.
kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought he was going to jump in and take that out, but no, just kind of did whatever. Katro, now pushing on this side. There's a whole bunch of Ravens now, and these turrets are just
those
super annoying.
Turrets.
Yeah.
And yeah, that disruptor head first gonna go box it out. I like that he's switching into Colossus, but yeah, I mean it's getting pretty late. And when the unit loss table came out, I am surprised at how well he's been. Perilous Protoss has been killing workers.
It's an inner
Obviously-
observer pointing out the bad grammar of Perilous Protoss.
Oh, in the text chat.
He didn't pluralize the word means. This mean war. So maybe he's saying it's an average war. I don't know. But who knows?
Or it's just like it's like an angry war,
Yeah.
This is mean
This
war.
is a mean war.
not that kind of nice war that you're used to. We got a single High Templar. No storm on the way or anything. So
No.
I don't know how the
Is he
units
going
are
for
being...
feedback? Okay,
Oh.
he did go for feedback.
That's kinda cool.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
If I were to believe that the High Templar was warped in because of the amount of Ravens, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just being warped in and gonna don't fight the Planetary Fortress.
That might be the case. It is. I mean, it definitely can be effective, but it's just it's a hard way to go.
It feels like the Disruptor, where it's like the actual unit is not programmed in that, but like he's not aware of the spells. Well, but the feedback happened.
He knew how to use it, and also I think this is the first time, probably in StarCraft history, we've seen a High Templar fight a turret. Like, I'm gonna call Fear Dragon after this and be like, "Hey, has this ever happened?
Do you do this in your games? Have you ever?
Have you ever seen this?" But just one-on-one turret.
Mothership.
Good addition. Now I've heard that the cloaking doesn't work.
What?
Because this is a different patch on for AI, that somehow the cloaking on the mothership doesn't actually function right.
Somehow they took off the passive, but also made the active broken as well.
Something
That's
like
so
that.
sad.
I think Katro said that last. Someone in chat could probably correct me if
I guess we'll see.
that's
Well,
wrong or can explain why, but I've heard that's maybe the case.
I mean, in this game against Raven Viking, not even gonna matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
because he has detection out the booty.
Yeah.
But that would stink if that is a thing, and the bots don't know.
He is getting storm now.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
just...
I like this map. Just the looking on the mini map and just the way it seems like a quarry. Like it just seems like kind of an industrial area or something with like dirt roads and stuff.
Yeah, I can
It's
see
very it feels just very different than a lot of the other maps.
The little bit of grass we have is all like patchy and like
Yeah.
dying out.
Yeah, like if I just saw a dump truck walk through the middle of the map, that would seem normal. Mostly kind of mostly. I do like some of the Perilous Protoss bot quotes. That one,
I like
believe,
that, yeah.
from South Park. South Park parroting Tommy knockers, I think. But yeah, he's got
Right.
still this good army. Yeah,
As I said, this army looks better than the one he was starting with.
Yeah.
I like the stalkers. If you're gonna go into Colossus, Tempest, just get a ton of stalkers to be under those Vikings and Ravens.
Yeah.
And Ketrock, I mean, obviously has an insane bank, but he has let PPB,
Yeah.
I mean, get to maxed out army, which is like, if you're down by infinite, the one thing that you can bank on is if you both get to maxed out, you kind of have a shot. Now you can win a big fight, and Terran cannot remax easily, especially what they've gone for. They're not going to be able to build 27 Vikings.
Yeah, and this is a pretty good engagement here. The Vikings kind of, because they glommed onto that mothership, which was way off to the side, they were just taking fire the entire time.
And there are no Vikings now.
Yeah.
They have 10 Liberators, 13 Ravens. I mean, the 13 Ravens are ridiculous to use. I don't know if he's researched Interference Matrix yet. But I guess even auto turrets could be disgusting. But the lack of Vikings is another little silver lining, I guess, for Perilous Protoss.
Yeah, definitely helpful there. He's rebuilt quickly. He's got 9, but now 9 is not particularly significant. The Raven, these turrets though are.
And the Tempest.
These will expire though. What's kicking in though, now that he's continued to build more Immortals, and then he seems to be controlling them separately, is the Immortals are kind of wandering off to each of the bases and being pretty annoying. That they're kind of getting there and hitting these planetaries, hitting the turrets, and just forcing repairs and getting some damage done. He's also got, because he's got so many bases with the Liberators defending each one, there's not really, it's hard to find like a central army for Ketrock at the moment. There's not really this is the fight. I guess this is, but
it's like where the Ravens are.
That's a tough one.
Because he does have so many Liberators, but they're so evenly distributed to all of his bases, and he has so many bases that there's really only like 2 in any given place.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really just pulling supply apart, and he's gonna potentially end up with a lot of the Vikings dying here. Not too many. I don't know why everything's so spread out. Like there's enough stalkers here to instant kill that Viking pack, but they're just not there.
Well, and what's the condition to blink?
Yeah.
Because man, if they blink under those Vikings instead of blinking under those Liberators and Planetary Fortresses, there's so much potential with these stalkers and this Viking.
Yeah,
count.
He's starting to really pull them apart here, and like the Vikings that are now isolated from any of the Ravens kind of don't know what to do because there's stalkers all over the place. He's still got that kind of main source. Like he's getting enough done here. Yeah.
But I do like the way that he's playing it. Yeah. In a way, it's too split up like individually, but the fact that he's hitting multiple places is really good.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not like 3 hit squads. It's like 2 stalkers every 5 feet. It's just like so spread out,
and there's like no objective to it. It's like the prize there was he was going to kill a turret for no real reason.
Yeah, you need a big enough group to actually fight a planetary. This is nice.
Like over on his side, this is what you kind of need to eventually overwhelm a spot.
He's always trying to recall that.
Yeah,
that mothership.
Yeah, so is able to finally take that. Was pretty expensive though in the end of it. To get that.
But he gets 2 more mules for free.
And if he can secure this location, that's going to be one of the biggest thing. Ketrock is just being a lot more cost efficient. I don't know if he could get a peek at like resources lost at this point, but he was cost efficient like throughout most of the game.
Yeah, like doubly so. Well, and
yeah, especially on
he's
gas.
just eating up the minerals. Like if you could just get on all these bases and mine from them for 5 minutes, even if you get removed, there's just not that much money there. Once PPB is able to actually set up, and so the fact that Ketrock has been able to have most of the map for this 20-minute game, I feel like is really gonna, fight PPB a little bit later
this
on.
Again, like the main army coming through here and really getting nothing done, and then getting cleaned up is just super expensive.
Yeah, which this kind of fighting I feel like would be more okay if it was all Stalker, Zealot, Gateway Man, Haas style. But yeah, if you're gonna go for Protoss Mech, I feel like it's said almost every PvZ, PvT, sometimes even PvP, keeping those units alive, those core, Disruptors, Colossus, Tempest, that is how you make the, death ball that everyone wants to get to. Accidentally leaking out some of these units just constantly is like one of the worst ways you can kind of go about your Protoss army style.
It's and then this splitting up, like he keeps getting into the point of it is to lean into the death ball, and he keeps kind of getting that army together, and then he splits up, and half them go one way, half them they go the other way, and they never actually crash and attack on anything.
Yeah, you kind of have to go either into death ball or into high maneuverability units.
Yeah,
and they both can work out amazing, but you can't really do both, and he's looks like he's kind of trying to do both.
Yeah, that was just the full cleanup there, and
those
he's finally
so
off
gross.
max, and I don't know that he's going to get back to a max army really during this.
Yeah, I mean, Ketrock's just not being aggressive. He's really just playing back and playing the defender mode, which is going great.
Yeah.
But it allows many more opportunities for Perilous that he shouldn't have, basically. He doesn't deserve to have. But Ketrock might just let Perilous get back up to maxed out and let this game keep going.
If there he is again now, but he's kind of like, it's like you said, without the bulk units, it's just kind of Gateway plus Immortal.
Yeah, it's like half Stalker Zealot.
Yeah, he's not getting back to like Tempest, Colossus, and stuff like that again. And I really feel like the disruptors throughout this game have just been a waste.
Yeah, completely.
And a lot of it's because of Ketrock's composition being primarily air anyway. But when that's the case, you're not going to do very well. But also the control that it seems.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
even when they do fight what they want to fight, planetary fortresses, that's a great spot to use disruptors.
Yeah,
get the repairing SCVs, get some shots off. But yeah, I mean they're being
moving them into the building. Yeah, exactly. Not quite working. There were definitely some gaps in this game where if Perilous was able to like group up and go, like after taking out a big amount of Vikings, and probably not go for like the jugular, but start taking out peripheral bases.
Yeah, I mean he has infinite targets.
Yeah,
because Ketrock, it was just like mass expanding basically.
Yeah,
he had plenty of opportunity. Yeah, if you took basically Perilous's units lost this game, and you just had that as an army, it would be a ridiculous army.
Yeah,
I mean it's probably like 10 Colossus, 15 Tempest, but it was never that. It was 2 Colossus max, 2 Tempests max, and then just constantly getting reset.
And he's still picking away here. His supply, though, dwindling as it's harder and harder to replace this stuff. A lot of his gases and a lot of his mineral lines, of course, now mined out.
Yeah, and everything he's making is pretty much gas intensive because he's going for that, mechy style and Templar Stalker.
Yeah, you got to look at ways to balance out. Like often if you're going for something like the Tempest or a bunch of Colossus or whatever, like the complement to that should be the charge lot style, because it's all minerals, but a very effective one, and it's specifically designed to keep things from getting underfoot of your bigger units, so that as you're retreating, you can sacrifice a bunch of zealots to
Yeah.
pull everything valuable back.
And it kind of gives you that maneuverability
Yeah.
that is so often missing from those
Yeah.
death ball armies of Carrier, Tempest, Colossus. Zealots, you can really kind of be everywhere. You can defend with them. You can poke in different spots.
Yeah,
my favorite example is like the of like the resource separation is just Zealot Archon, like late game. Dump all your gas and Archons, dump all your minerals and Zealots, and you have a great army. Going into all these units that cost so much gas and stuff, yeah, it's just rough. And now Perilous is on their 2 natural bases, which I have to assume both are completely mined out 40 minutes in.
Yeah, both the minerals and gas are completely gone. Yeah, they're in the end. So yeah, about a 2-to-1 ratio in terms of minerals, but about a 4 or 5-to-1 ratio in terms of gas lost in this thing. I don't know if hardly any Vikings or any Ravens were killed in this. Definitely Vikings were. But yeah, Ravens really good at staying alive, and yeah, as basically I think this entire map is mined out, but Ketrok having like 60,000 plus resources in total.
I mean, there was a time where it was like Perilous had like 4 or 5 bases, and Ketrok was on like 8, 9. You know.
So he's just gonna go home and leave this last pile. There we go. Finally. Ketrok will never be accused of having short games.
Yeah, I mean, he never attacked really. Yeah. I mean, he would take down like the mothership and stuff, but never did it look like Ketrok was trying to take out the peripherals.
No,
just expand, set up liberators, wait for them.
Yeah, his goal is to mine out every resource on the map and then see where the game sits and decide from that.
Now can I take a fight?
Yeah. So yeah, slowly getting him when his opponent just kind of runs out of money, but pretty good. Like, so despite that being a matchup that just Ketrok is just much been around and much more developed and one of the best spots we have, that's really good for a new bot that we've never seen. Like, rarely does a new bot enter the scene and is that developed, where like first season, and it knows how to feedback, it knows how to at least launch the disruptor balls, if not then take care of the disruptor, like is making motherships and stuff. And I do kind of wonder some parts of that, if the mothership worked, would it have changed a couple small areas of fights, but probably not enough. But yeah, to be that developed is definitely cool to see.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like if the unit retention got better and it maybe even played a little more like Ketrok or a little more like Benbot BC when he gets into that mid game where it's, you know, you don't have to attack, you don't have to be on the map really.
Yeah,
sit back, build your cannons. You built the forge, you know, take your expansion earlier, but build your cannons and then just get 10 Tempest, 5 Colossus.
Yeah,
you get a good number, and then I mean, Perilous was building good units.
Yeah,
it was just the timing of the units and the sustainability.
Yeah, it was a little glitchy. Like, given the early game, like if you saw like the first 5 minutes of that, you would think that it was gearing up for like a 2 base timing.
Yeah,
but then it went up to like, you know, 6, 7 bases, and you're like, well, you weren't doing that at all. So if you weren't doing that at all, why did you do this cannon
your goal
1 base
is
opening?
that,
and like, then you shouldn't have started that way. You should have gone economic to begin with, and like whatever. So yeah, I think kind of put a hitch in where it just kind of, because of the build order, was giving up 40 supply that he didn't have to.
Yeah,
and then caught up later, whereas could have done that a little better. But we'll see in game number 2 if anything changes here.
Rock. Perilous ProBots Bot.
Oh.
Yeah. So you did again. We jumped in a little bit into the game, but you could see in the chat there, and I wonder if this is a real attempt or whether he's just triggering him.
Yeah, trying to
But
fake like a cannon
yeah,
rush.
so he
kinda.
detected this as if it was a cannon rush detected sort of scenario, and then is that changing? Yeah, anything? Because he went in, put it in. Yeah, he didn't even lose the probe or anything. So it's not like he even attempted to do more than that. This is just like a sacrificial pylon.
Dang, and it's unfortunate if it was a a mind trick kind of thing.
Yeah.
It sucks that Ketrock is so well made
Yeah,
that it kind of it checks the
knows.
box off, and now it's gonna play exactly normal.
Yeah, maybe it was a little bit of a half-heart because he did make the forge and he has Cannon at home. So maybe this is like a half-hearted like try. Since I'm doing this anyway, I'll try and put a pylon here, and if I get away with it, then I'll do this. But if you detect it, I'll just abandon it immediately. And
Yeah,
that's
because it
quite
was
possible.
also built kind of in a spot where it looked like it was a sneaky one. It wasn't like I'm going to try to wall this off and play it regardless. Triple Zealot, that's hurting me, hurting my soul.
Yeah, it's yeah. Again, unless you use them, unless there's something that they're for right away, then yeah, it's a waste.
It's a base. Yeah, I do like that. It looks like they're going more gateway this time. There's no Stargate yet. No crazy tech, so maybe Twilight Council, some more gateways, get charge or something.
And the weirdest shield battery location I've ever seen. It's like
it doesn't even reach the cannons.
Yeah, if you're like, where can I put this that affects nothing?
It's like not quite the mineral line, not quite the wall, not quite the cannons.
Like this will not save a worker, and it will not save the ramp, and it will not save.
Doesn't save the cyber core or the building. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If a warp prism comes out of the robo, I'm liking the unit composition like infinity times more than last game. If a robo bay drops after the robo finishes, I'm worried again.
Yeah, I agree, and it looks so he is expanding. This is kind of more the thing is, if this is once again not a 2-base timing thing, then I don't like the start.
Yeah, Zealots, the Forge.
It's leaving so much on the table that could have gone into faster economy. And I'm sure he does this kind of versus everyone, but particularly versus Ketrock, these defenses you've built are not necessary.
Expanded, Ketrock does not, or double expanded, but triple CC. So Ketrock's not phased by. Oh, actually, no, he did triple expand.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He has 4 CCs. My bad.
Yeah, his response to like holding the cannon, the non-existent cannon rush, was to just take everything.
And the Robo Bay did come down right away.
Yeah,
nothing was built from the robotics facility. So these, 4 Zealots, 5 Stalkers, are just going to be scouting.
Yeah, and I just think it's the same as the first game, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. With no conflicts happening, he's 14 supply behind and 14 workers behind. The Protoss naturally should be ahead.
Yeah.
So to be 14, you should be like 4 ahead at this point instead of 17 behind.
Oh my God, these gases.
Yeah.
He's like making sure that none of them get built. No, I mean, insanely behind, not just from the current worker count, but you're also up against quadruple command centers, and you like just finished your natural. And tech-wise, Ravens are already coming out. We do have a Colossus on their way, which I like that the Disruptor has been skipped this time.
Yeah. Because that
2 more.
didn't help.
Is that 2 more command centers being built?
Yeah, I think so.
That's
more.
That's insane.
Just need all of them.
It's gonna work out, but that's crazy that this is like there's been no scouting from Ketrock. It was just defended cannon rush. Let's go into quintuple expansion.
Yeah, he has not even left this side of the map. He has no concerns for what's over here at all. But he's well defended. Like I think the frustrating part is there is an opportunity for a strong 2-base, particularly into what Ketrock's doing here. If you just came with Gateway and Colossus and you could shut down and contain this. Like you could make it so that these 4 extra CCs have nowhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, you
'cause
could probably
just
even go
take
into the
control.
main.
Yeah.
You know, the tanks are set up in the natural, but if he went Warp Prism when the Robo finished and he had those, I think it was like 6 gateway units,
Yeah.
burying those into the main, I mean, would just disrupt so much against someone going quintuple command, you know, expansion.
Yeah, exactly. He'll eventually get this zealot coming back home. But yeah, it's gonna be yeah.
First blood.
There we go. Taken out by the Hellion. And yeah, he's just kind of now floating those other CCs everywhere. Each of these, though, is also an additional cost. As he takes each one, he's putting liberators there, he's putting turrets there, and he's turning each one into a planetary. So doing this all at once is a huge drain on your resources, and his army supply is not particularly high. So again, there legitimately is an opportunity for a strong 2-base hit here. It just doesn't seem like it's what's happening. And doing stuff like this is just kind of really unnecessarily delaying yourself.
The rocks are a little silly. I do like the number of stalkers. This looks
This
very
is a
different.
lot better than
Yeah.
now. Are you going to go the same direction? Okay, good.
We got Blink coming. We got the shields, which I do like shields if you go, especially when he was into Stargate and Robo. But even now with the Blink micro, I think shields is really cool.
Planetary is not done here yet. Is he going to target that down though? Because it will be done in a bit.
He'll at least push all of the SCVs so far back that nothing's going to repair it, but he does need to like target it once it starts shooting at him.
Getting pretty low.
The spread is
hit it
hurting
one more
me.
time, man. There we go. Okay, good. But yeah, he kind of like wandered the others into the other planetary up here. He's at least pulling back with the Colossus, doesn't lose it.
That's the big.
Yeah.
What my biggest probably like if there was one, tip or thing I could change about them from the past game is retention, and the fact that they lost Stalkers but didn't lose the Colossus is like ginormous in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, exactly. He also, I mean, he shouldn't have lost the Stalkers either.
He has Blink.
But it's better. Yeah.
What triggers the Blink? Because I feel like certain bots do perfect Blink micro, and that it seems like a crazy broken thing. It seems so strong. And I feel like last game the Stalkers blinked one time into a planetary fortress, and that was it. They weren't even saving it for defensive blinks.
Yeah, they only seem to blink ahead.
Which is like, defensive blinks is where it's at, man. Yeah. That makes Stalkers so good. I sell it.
Yeah.
At least they deny the 8th base or something.
Something must have blinked right then. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, the one blink.
Yeah, he has detected it. But yeah, again, we've got the army spread out. Like this little group over here, that's fine. The Zealot on its own, that's fine. But then where's like the main army? Where's
the 2-punch?
The plan?
You have the 1-punches, the little jabs, but you need to like pair it with something that, because the little jabs happening on the right side, you can hit the left side and actually take out a base. Yeah, none of these armies can fight a planetary fortress, or even like a few ravens. It looks like.
Yeah, pretty much. And like the Colossus by itself is a thing that's happening.
Yeah, this could be where the retention starts to go down.
Yeah, the mass turret drop.
I kind of wanted the turrets around.
Yeah.
The Warcraft 3 body block with turrets.
And yeah, he's just taking every other base here. Perilous trying to go up to 4, but it's not really the play.
And I think, has the Robo production just stopped? Because I feel like
it.
The 2 Colossus and Disruptor are all that I've seen.
Yeah, I think he's trickling some out, but there's no... It feels like he should have more, though, given that he hasn't gone into the Tempest this time around. That it's kind of like, where's the rest of the stuff then?
They got the Robo pretty early. Yeah. I guess I've got Colossus on the way now.
but I think it's because of the low economic development. That
Oh
usually
yeah, can't afford
this
it.
deep 3 base with all that stuff, but it's the order he made it is so much worse. He's still only at 58 workers despite having 4 bases now. Like that's just not good for well, it's not good for 8 minutes in the game, let alone 12.
They also warped in a few more sentries than they did last game for sure, which it slows the gas a lot. If they're used correctly, I think it's amazing. But so far, I don't think I saw any Guardian Shield or Force Fields last game. This game, we've seen a couple hallucinated Archons.
Yeah,
but
it hurt us talking about the hallucination before and decided to test that out.
Does Ketrock have a GG condition?
Yeah.
All right, gets one.
Yeah.
That's nice. And Perilous is slowly getting on the map and getting some bases up. If they can, actually settle into these 5 bases, they should have a pretty legit economy. We'll just see if these Ravens will allow that to happen, though.
Yeah, I think we're going to hit the same sort of like similar starvote situation very slowly over time on this, but eventually we may get there, but is there going to even be a Perilous max out? It feels like the economy and everything is just kind of worse and he lose. That was a weird...
That may have hit some of his own stalkers too, yeah.
Yeah. That was a weird, once again, blink into extreme danger.
As I said, the target fire is just not there at all.
Yeah.
And against Terran specifically, that's like the most important thing. If you're going into Liberator Planetary Fortress and you don't target fire, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. I wonder if you focused a lot on making all the units operate well independently, because that's something that sometimes authors struggle with, is like things can either act as an army or they act independent. And I think he's maybe leaned too independent to the point that they won't group up and do the same thing, that they're all acting on their own individual agenda.
Crabs in a bucket. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's because when you get into a situation of like, well, I'm just going to send my High Templar over here to attack a planetary fortress, like it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Or have my single Colossus kite something and then it fights 9 auto turrets and then I also, do you think Ketrock goes so Raven heavy because it seems like it would be annoying for bots to fight against it, like because the Raven doesn't have any actual attack? I feel like the aggro is so weird dealing with Ravens.
Well, you could see that definitely throughout these tournaments, and it's even something that Alpha Star, when they made that, had a really hard time dealing with. I remember there was one game where a Diamond player beat Alpha Star by just making Ravens because it couldn't process the concept that these were non-offensive units that could become offensive at any time.
Yeah, the threat value is just so hard to determine, kind of.
Exactly. And like, there's a lot of units where like it's you have to devote a lot of resources to like really shutting them down or like jumping on them, but because they're harmless, you don't. And the moment that they start to jump on them, dropping all the turrets is the exact defense to that.
Yeah.
And then if they've committed to going after you, they then lose to a bunch of free units.
It seems like it would almost require a sort of what Ketrock did with the Vikings and the Tempests. If the Stalkers had some similar kind of, coding where they could get a clump of Stalkers, blink underneath the Ravens, and actually target fire the Ravens. This would be going a lot better.
Yeah, exactly.
But
that seems to be a really hard thing to do. The idea, and that's I brought it up for many seasons in this, but the idea of blinking forward or like diving for specific high value targets has been a really hard thing.
It's so niche and specific. Yeah,
it's so situational. It's so terrain based a lot of the time. It's like, it's then you get times where it makes errors. I think we had one, forget who, maybe it was GensiBot, that kind of knew stuff like I should stim Marines and go after Vikings if they get out of position, but then that would override its normal thinking and it would then like stem forward into a bunch of tanks that the Vikings were retreating to. So it was so hard to tell it, do it here but not here, like that's a trap. That sort of thing.
A very fine line to walk, because you blink under these ravens and widow mines or a ton of tanks or even just a planetary fortress and liberators, then you don't want to be targeting just the ravens and chasing them through that minefield.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also hard to teach it, like the concept of like, how do you deal with this? Well, maybe you feign a bunch of attacks to bait out turrets to waste the energy, but I think like a bot trying to like get the concept of wasting like fake attacks and stuff doesn't work.
Are they able to like, because obviously we can see energy value, right? Like you can see the amount of energy. So I wonder if there's some way of like, if it's max energy to kind of poke and run away, and then if it's lower energy below a threshold, all right, now you can now there are defenses. Although a group like this, it's it's 30 different thresholds.
And I think they can. I mean, they could definitely pick up like what the energy values are, but the problem is often when you see this pack at the beginning, it's all full. So can you tell it to intentionally lower? Like I don't know that many of them really understand that relationship, or like how hard that would be to create. Is like provoke another unit to do something. It's probably hard to do.
Well, and the way that the interaction with the auto turrets, if like to be able to understand that the auto turret's going to die anyway, so that you don't have to fight it when it's fighting you, I feel like is another really hard conceptual thing, that people take for granted.
And there's some things too that I don't know that they know the timer of. So I don't know that they could see the timer, like the enemy can see the timer of the turret, or whether it just knows. Like I think you'd have to code in something to deal with that.
Yeah, well, I would think just completely disengage if possible. Just run away. But then it's all right. Are you always running away from the ravens now? If the ravens are programmed to only set one turret down at a time,
exactly.
You just never get near them.
Threshold? What threshold do I do it at? How many's too many? When can I overwhelm them anyway?
And at this point, it feels almost like the like, what do you do against like 20 carriers? And it's like, well, you stop them when they have like 4. At this point, it's like, once they get 45 ravens, I don't think you're programming anything to fight this. No. This is like
you've kind of it's over at this point.
Ridiculous army.
There's a lot of that stuff of like you can't let them get there or else it doesn't work.
You've already lost.
I wonder if there's a chat threshold where Katro makes this Bitcoin comment. And he has
once he gets to 13,000 minerals.
You probably can.
I'm gonna put my money on Katro winning this one.
I think probably you might be right. Take a little bit. Takes these turrets. This is the only attack power. Real time over 1 hour. I'm glad that we could speed these up. But not bad. Like overall here, though, like not bad. And I kind of want to now see the losers match with Perilous Protoss against Ender, because I feel like Perilous Protoss, one, is opening defensive. So it's assuming it does the same way against a Zerg, that actually may be better. But I feel like this sort of play would actually work against Ender, whereas it just doesn't have enough strength to go against Katro, and Ketrok's so weird to begin with that it's just the type of strategy that no one else is doing. So are you going to have a defense to this? Probably not.
I feel like if Perilous was getting attacked, it would work better because it would almost force the units to stay together. If they're clumped up in his natural or in the third or whatever. The greed side feels like this is what's worse or like best for the greedy player against Perilous. Just because it's too many targets, and there's, like you said, it's kind of the individual units kind of choosing the targets, and so it's just it's too much. You kind of need to be sitting back, and then if people are throwing roaches at you, awesome. Colossus is hanging out behind the wall. You have some cannons.
Yeah,
But,
I think that's better, and I think against a less like defensive person, to like this splitting up and going to every base would be great if there's not a planetary at every base.
yeah, Terran specifically
right.
is
So
extra.
it's like, yeah, so it's a little harder. But anyway, we're gonna jump into a 5-minute break and come back with Group D in this thing. Stick around, and it's a great time to join like the Patreon or something. Here's our bracket for when we get back. We're going to have Zeno up against EPN Roach and Sharkbot up against Dovakin. Go to AI or ProBotsAI.com and be cool and hit the like button and all kinds of stuff. And we'll be back in 5. Hello. We are back from that very re-energizing break, and we are ready to get into Group D. And
so ready.
Yeah, super game for this one. This one should be pretty. So I know really nothing about EPN Roach other than that the name tells you that it might use roaches. And Zeno, though, is random. Apparently.
I like random.
So
I'm excited to see what that means.
Yeah.
I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, just that it's hard to prepare. Is Zeno really random? Because yeah, I guess it is from the graphic. For some reason, I was remembering Zeno as Zerg specifically. So, but yeah, I guess is a random bot. Good elo and good win rate, and it's really hard to plan against a random bot.
Kind of crazy win rate, yeah.
Yeah. Indeed, and her opponent is going to be EPN Roach, which, yeah, I know nothing. I just kind of hope it Roach rushes. That's about it. 1313.
Evil
apparently
People
produced
Network.
by the Evil People Network. Yeah.
The 666. Okay.
Nice. I like the imagery. We'll see if more work went into the logo than the bot.
I forgot to say it last match because we didn't have the versus screen for the first game.
Yeah.
But the second game, loving these logos.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's a good one, and I don't know if he can game the system, but having a 13-13 elo also very unlucky. but maybe I don't know if it's 13 is like evil, but it's like something. It's sinister.
Yeah. The fact that hotels don't have that as a floor. It's something.
That's it. I love the superstitious buildings. There's a lot in like Toronto here now. They don't have the 13, and I think it's 4 they don't have, but then they don't have any multiples of 4 because of Chinese superstition.
That's wild. I feel like I've heard like no 7 and no 13 before.
Yeah.
I've never heard multiples of 4 is crazy.
Yeah.
Like 4
or maybe
8,
it's
16.
anything with a 4 digit. So I don't know if it's 4. Maybe it's like 4, 14, 24. They don't have. So there's some things that go like 1, like lobby 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Skip 13 and like 14. Skip 13 and 14. Like yeah, there's like a lot of floors mentioned.
Around 415 and it's like 2 stories off the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Like 80-story buildings that are short. Yeah. It's something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Again, someone in chat may know these specific numbers, but I think it's that the word 4 in Chinese sounds like the word death. And so it's that's where the superstition comes from.
So any number with the phonetically that says 4 in it, it would be. I got you. Yeah, there's a few things like that. I think there's colors too that sound like something, or I think it's white lanterns. White lanterns are only ever used at funerals. So if there's like white light coverings, then that's a superstition as well, or something like that. Anyway, I think we're ready to jump into this one. So let's see whose favor the luck is in.
Zeno. EPN Roach.
So yeah, and Overlord already lost on this. We keep the fact we're starting like 2 minutes in. I'll get used to it. I think it's probably a good idea, but yeah, it's disorienting when you like, yeah, you see a scout and you're like, well, that's really quick, and you're like, no, it's 2 minutes in.
I guess
No.
anytime a Zerg scouts with a drone, though, I'm always like,
Yeah, true.
what the?
It's weird.
Proxy.
It's weird in the first place. I think in this case, though, I wonder if he did it specifically because it's a random matchup, so he actually doesn't know his race until he does that. But even then, you've got the Overlord going across. So
Yeah, it's weird to
you're gonna
lose the
know.
Overlord and have the drone
Yeah,
be found at the same time. You know, it's like, well,
yeah,
the Overlord's going to get there eventually.
Careless. Yeah. Links coming across, a few of them.
Roach Warren already done. Layer going up. Maybe some like Nidus Worm roaches or a Dropper Lord roaches. Those are my first two thoughts.
Yeah, I want to see more of that stuff. There was a couple people that did that sort of thing. There was the bot Paul way back that did Nidus Worm and did it to some effect. And there was one that did like Dropper Lord Speedling and like maybe a couple Dropper Lord Baneling sort of things.
Yeah,
And
I
it
love
seemed
that.
to work. But he did it for the Speedling, instead of doing it right into the mineral line, he'd like sneak to the corner of the base, drop them, and just run them over. And it seemed to work reasonably well.
No, yeah, using like blind spots in the
Yeah.
base and stuff, especially some bases, that main area that is the high ground, some of them are huge. And right now Xena's actually making a really good the supply depots are really well spaced out to not have those big blind spots. But some of these bases you have to build like 3-4 buildings to be able to see everything in specific locations, you know.
Roaches here should just immediately retreat, but they're gonna get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going in with just the 4 and then the 6 lings after and then the 1 roach after, just what we've been, you know, talking about all night of.
Yeah, it's that single file.
Yeah,
like,
especially into Marines. Into ranged units, it's like infinitely worse. Melee units, you can almost get away with it, or like the difference isn't as extreme, kind of. But man, if you're running into an arc or just a clump of ranged units that have more range than you do, slow walking in is just
it's death. It's
painful.
Like so many fights are won or lost in the first like half second of the fight, like the initial contact. And like you see it in pro games, like players they know they're gearing up for a fight between this ball and this ball, but they just pull back and forth and reposition for like 2 or 3 minutes sometimes before actually committing to who thinks they can go in and do it, because usually the disadvantage is on the one that has to push in.
Mover.
That's the one. So you want to make sure you've got it, and it's so hard to do in this when like they don't have a sense that they're clumped up. Also, when things are just kind of in the wrong order of like, if you're going
like the
into
roach is
that,
leading the lings.
Yeah, the lings should be first. Like that's the point.
Yeah. Well, and this would be, you know, I think semi harder to like code in there, but the really beautiful engages from the pro players where they have they kind of set up the arc before the fight. You know, they move all their units out and even will hold position some to really get a nice, you know, 180 arc, and then move all that in so that when they initially attack, they have, you know, the most available surface area. This is just getting eaten. And again, the lings come at the very end of the fight.
Just like, are we late, guys? Like, yeah, you're a little late.
Oh, we're attacking?
Yeah. And the scan during all of that, because he does have the Burrow Roach, which you can see now, and he did have available during that, but they were just getting picked off because the entire fight was in that scan range.
Yeah, well, and I find it a little bit odd. So the layer came down, and I was, you know, guessing a lot of different tech. I kind of forgot that the Roach upgrades required the layer as well. So if they're just going hard Roaches, it does make sense to get the layer just for that. but they also they had both Roach upgrades, or at least speed and the burrow coming in, and the first fight happened before either of those upgrades finished, which is like
just basically shouldn't attack there.
Losing those 6 to 8 roaches right before they're going to become the most annoying things ever, and super micro bull is just very rough. It's like moving across with like pre-blink stalkers once blink is on the way. You know, it's the value goes up so much when this finishes, and you lose them right before they really skyrocket in annoyance and value.
A good use of scans there to try and clear out some of the burrowed roaches. That's something we haven't seen a lot of people really successfully do. Like, burrowed roaches have almost always been worth more than their value.
I feel like I saw that be annoying a couple times the last season when I was observing.
Yeah, and now this is just not going to be turned away. It's way too many, way too strong. You can see like the control there.
Yeah, it feels almost like the blink stalkers, where it's like, if you're going to use a unit perfectly, Marines have got to be pretty high up there with the amount of value that gets added to them with, perfect micro.
And I like that they're kind of doing the opposite of what I say a lot don't, which is they're moving forward. They're not attacking at max distance. They're realizing like to be aggressive, and they're starting to fire, but then continuing closer to the buildings, closer to the units to just really get in.
And they went straight for the main base. None of that extremity, baloney of trying to squeeze them out. He's like, nah, I have enough. I can just go.
Yeah, we gotta go. Yeah. So pretty dominant there. We're likely to get a different matchup because of the randomness. So we'll see how EPM Roach responds to that. I think the best matchup for this type of thing might be if you run into a Protoss that isn't going to have a big grouping of ranged units that early.
Protoss?
And may struggle with the burrow as well. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or Zerg if they go like Ling heavy.
Yeah.
I feel like Roaches can just be real annoying if you have like 6 against like 10, 12, 15 Lings. They just don't do enough damage.
Yeah, definitely. And you can just never kill them past the healing. I always think too of like who has the most. If you haven't gotten up to Overlord yet, or Overseer yet, then the detection could be tough.
Protoss
is the one that's least likely to have reliable detection. And if they don't have it really coded in, they're least likely to adapt to it. So
and their detection takes so much like commitment, to tech. Like you're either going Oracle, which you have to have a Stargate, Observer, which you have to have a Robo, or a Cannon, which you have to have a Forge, and like we've been complaining about, you don't want to go Forge first just for cannons. That is not what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that could end up being a better matchup. But even then, you have to attack like as a group and stuff. It can't be this single file sort of thing. So maybe that's better. And like you were brought up during that, you also can't attack. You can't research these things and attack before they're done.
Yeah, it's like the anti-timing of you just put all these resources into something that's going to make you so much stronger in 2 minutes. Don't lose all the units in those 2 minutes, Yeah,
for sure. So I think we're ready. Let's hop into game number 2.
Zeno. EPN Roach.
So we are getting that ZVZ. Zed versus Zed. For all my Canadians.
Definitely. I feel like Terran was probably the hardest to go into. So a little bit rough for the first match. But I feel like if Zeno doesn't get a super fast Roach Warren, this could get a little tricky.
Yeah, Zeno had the slightly earlier pool, but EPN Roach obviously already going for the Roach Warren there. Okay, there's a Roach
Pretty
Warren on
fast.
Xena's side. Yeah, fast enough. Certainly that will be there in response. And then it will come down to who makes more and where are they.
And maybe who has burrow and who
Yeah.
doesn't. You know, if Zeno maybe won't do the super fast layer like EPN Roach likes to do. I also am a little surprised at when we first were talking about Xena and that they were random. I feel like when people are random, I kind of always expect it to be like Protoss Cannon Rush,
Yeah.
Terran, Proxy, just cheese for everything, so that you don't have to build in late game
these.
knowledge with all the races.
Yeah.
But Xena opens very not like very greedy, but very reserved. She's not really going for instant cheese to end the game fast. It looks like they're willing to play out a pretty normal looking game with all their races.
Yeah, I get that sense too. And it's actually Xena though that's going for the burrow first here.
Oh dang.
So yeah, ahead on that one. The lair actually only just started for Roach.
And I love the creep tumors.
Yeah.
Like I said, I feel like that if the Zerg is spreading creep, that can be some of the most broken looking stuff that bots do, even better than humans, where it's like, man, that creep spread can be disgusting.
Yeah, it can be just perfect. There's nothing that will delay it. Like it's not taking any attention from anything.
Yeah, you have a couple 1,100 APM or
yeah. So EPN Roach is moving across and maybe moving into a pretty scary situation. Actually stopping to regroup.
I love this clumping. Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But there's a lot of roaches and there's queens there for support as well. And that's just an overwhelming number. And he is on creep to enhance the maneuverability.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately, the retreat off creep, so he gets run down.
Yeah, it's always so weird with both Zerg because it's like their creep counts just as much as your creep does. So if you're both fighting on or off creep, it's kind of fine. In that particular situation, it really was that Xena had creep and Roach did not.
Yeah, and he's moving across the burrow, almost done on Roach's side, but again, we had that sort of anti-timing where it wasn't ready yet, and
was that double Evo in the main base? That seems like
I think so. Yeah,
a wild commitment to when you lose a big fight like that.
Yeah, and just kind of rolling through them here, and we're gonna get a quick one for our second game. So it kind of, what we were maybe holding out hope that EPN Roach could do, Xena did faster and better.
I was gonna say Xena should change their name to Roach. That was more roaches than the Roach made.
Yeah. So and just really good control with those as well. Like none of them, I don't know if any of those died. They're really good at just pulling back, concaving. Again, they're getting similar to the Terran one was they run forward to get into melee range with everything and then kind of retreat as necessary.
Yeah, I do love that. Being able to actually hit with everything at once makes a very big difference.
Yeah.
Dang, quick set.
Yeah, there we go. Had the Katro games go long and this one go pretty swiftly. And now we're going to get into that 1-1 score there is wrong. Xena has won. But we're going to get into the two bots that we're somewhat familiar with. It's going to be Sharkbot versus Dovakin. And Sharkbot, known for doing some pretty creative, wacky stuff. And Dovakin, known for mostly early rushing things. So we'll see how that goes. Both of them can be cheesy. Sharkbot can play big macro stuff as well. Don't know how Dovakin's change over the season, but we'll see. Again, I do expect early aggression there.
Nice, yeah. I'm excited to see some Protoss.
Yeah.
Some more Protoss. And this should be the closest battle in terms of seeding.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it goes game 3 or at least looks pretty close. I feel like we've had some long games, but even then it was like Ketrock's just waiting.
particularly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ketrock's still looking like he's gonna win, and Benbot BC looking pretty dominant the whole time.
Yeah, agree. Here, let's take a look at the stats. There's the jacked Sharkbot in his nice Protoss color scheme.
That
That
should
should
be
be-
logo.
That should just be a skin in the game. Really.
That should be a unit in the game. That's what Zealot
Yeah.
should look like.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick. Got an elo 1786, pretty good. Win rate near 50-50 again. Contextually, that's in the top bracket, so that's better than it seems when you look at it that way. So yeah, Sharkbot continuing to be quite strong. The author, I think, has several bots on the ladder, and this is one of them, derived from a chat bot, and will likely talk during the game. We'll see. His opponent, new graphic for Dovakin. Lovely.
It looks like he's getting eaten by the Sharkbot. That's
Yeah.
terrible.
That is it's an unfortunate matchup, but but he seems fine with it, and that's the key.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like riding in its mouth or something. He's the Sharkborn.
Some of those like parasites that like you know symbiosis. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, lovely. Has a knife there, not threatening anyone with it, just having a good old time. And yeah, we'll see how that one's evolved. Dovakin, I want to say this is the 3rd or 4th season, something like that, and still one of like the newer ones, but not a brand new one. So we've seen some development there, and we see Dovakin go pretty far as well with some fairly basic builds and stuff. But yeah, let's get into it. The two relative veterans compared to the other things today.
Let's do it.
Sharkbot. Dovakin.
Dragonborn coming, but we are in the ocean, which you would imagine favors Sharkbot.
Are you beach body ready? That's a lot of
That is a lot of drones.
A lot of drones.
And is it because they know about this proc? We kind of missed what this
I saw
was. And
the drone follow the
Yeah.
probe,
yeah,
but I think there are 2 probes, so
Yeah.
it's very tricky. Also, this is kind of like a Max Pax-esque opener back when he made it for like PVT, where
Yeah.
that. Oh no, this is going to be just straight up
yeah,
flower
it's
build,
just
I
gonna
guess,
yeah,
but not actually blocking the pylon, which is like. I feel like why they call it the flower build
yeah.
is because you really like that setup to block that pylon, so if it does get scouted, it doesn't get shut down and you lose 600 minerals to nothing. But it hasn't been scouted yet.
This is a lot of lost mining time in a very unforced way.
It's like 5 drones on each probe.
Yeah, like we've got almost nothing mining at a time that we really need to get those numbers up. And one of the biggest things is to make sure that the queen is out and that we're continuing to pump queens to deal with the zealots coming in, because the lings alone are not going to do that.
And like spine crawlers would be huge, but
Okay.
it just all costs minerals. Minerals are
cool.
really important.
Yeah, well, and it's got to be minerals because, of course, part of this is Sharkbot stealing the gases that are going to prevent this from ever being roaches. The lings going across and maybe doing some damage here. I don't think 6 is going to be enough, though. If you could get that a little higher, okay, and then just stopping randomly.
Yeah, please
also
go
is
up.
gonna help.
Please go up.
Yeah,
Because even
gotta
if you
go.
get this pylon,
Yeah,
that's actually kind of
something.
huge.
Yeah.
Because that will
Okay.
supply block
Are we
Sharkbot.
going with 8? Okay, those 2 are
2.
going to go.
No, they're not. They're gonna get high ground vision them
No,
way.
they're done. Now,
Oh,
now that we
no.
see the attack, are they going to come home? Are they going to go? I don't know
Oh
what's
my
happening.
god.
I don't know what logic would lead to that.
Just please hit the pylon.
Yeah.
You don't even have to get workers. Just the pylon would.
Okay, are they going?
help so much.
Something's happening over there now. Zealots come in. Okay, cool.
Deny the cyber.
But why would you go out again? Now
Why
they're
are you
going
leaving?
home. They're going home. Yeah, no, they had to stay and do something there because they could have done. 8 of them could have got a fair bit done. over on that side.
The Zealot micro, not the best.
No,
He's
not so
hit
far.
the hatch a couple times.
Yeah.
Was fighting drones.
Yeah, so he'll get one more here, but then the queen will go down, and there's not another one building. And now there is, but it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I mean this is looking pretty GG.
Yeah.
Did the Lings all
Lings
come back?
but there's too many zealots at this point.
And there's still like 2-3 Lings going across the map as well. So it's just a very uncoordinated.
And 4 more go, 3 more go this way. Yeah, that's unfortunate because he definitely could have delayed this. He could have supply blocked him and then killed some workers and shut down the speed. Because this isn't really a particularly good zealot rush either.
Say
Like
how you feel. Say
It's not crisp. Like it doesn't feel like there's like this is not a flood of zealots coming in.
This isn't good. No,
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And I mean, even a perfectly done flower build
Yeah.
is still so risky.
Yeah.
You know, it really only takes a couple of zealots to go down, and then the momentum kind of fades off and tapers off, and then you just lose to Lings. But this is looking like a W.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just either decision full force could have been fine. Because it almost now looks like if all 8 Lings had come back, he could have maybe overwhelmed the zealots because they weren't being controlled very well, like you're saying.
Yeah, and with the queen at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, I think he maybe could have saved that. You still had to then clean up the gas, and then you've got Sharkbot teching up on his end. But yeah, it's kind of a dropped opportunity there because of, and I just can't even imagine what makes the Lings stop on the ramp and chill. Like,
because even the
why'd you
2
go
that
there?
catch up, they go up and then they stop like just at the high ground in vision of a pylon that they could hit.
Yeah, so why would that? Yeah, I thought that was going to trigger it then and be like, oh,
It's like
look,
you-
the target.
You almost
Let's
have to be
kill the
holding
target.
command. You know, like naturally they would attack. So it's a very deliberate
Yeah.
not attacking.
Yeah, it's one of those cases of all you had to do was nothing.
Yeah.
You
The
had
over
to,
micro.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, you had to actively make the wrong decision in order to make that happen.
it's like
So-
target firing with like 100 stalkers, and you're like, actually, this is terrible.
Yeah.
You're doing too much.
For sure. So yeah, that one pretty clean. Sharkbot, we never know if it's going to repeat the same thing. Like just because it wins doesn't mean it does repeat the same thing. And Dovakin, who knows what the real intention there was, because we didn't really get to see, like, was Dovakin going to take a gas because he couldn't.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and
once,
just if he had more minerals, you know, the 8 workers
that
chasing
was
for the
weird.
first 2 minutes is like, that's when they matter the most. That's such a
such a
huge
detriment.
Yeah.
For them to chase like all the way across, like basically over half the map.
And if they were, you know, those 5 that were chasing the original probe, if they were to split off and actually scout, that pylon was
Maybe you
dead
see-
if 6 zealots or 6 zerglings get on it. So I feel like it was just really unfortunate where it's so much resources committed and then also not in the right way where you can commit those and it could be a great decision.
Yeah.
But not like that.
Not in that case. So yeah, hop into game number 2 and let's see if we get more of the same or something totally different.
Sharkbot. Dovakin.
We didn't
So-
even scout it.
So he really did just send out 5. Like that's what I thought at first. Like, is this a 5 worker rush to like do some damage or do something weird? But then maybe he ran into a probe and it got diverted. But then why? Like, what are you doing? So, okay, he's gonna attack in now, and can he get any probe kills?
I mean, it's gonna be
Really-
annoying. 5 is nice because if they all hit the probe, they can 2-shot it, even in
Yeah.
SCV. So I
Okay.
assume that's what the number is like, kind of for.
Yeah, doing well here, and we know that Dovakin has this like used to just worker rush, so we know that this micro is pretty good. It just something must have misfired last time, and they didn't get there, and they went home.
Yeah, like they
Something.
saw that probe and
Yeah.
that made them think that like that was the probe in the mineral line, so they should start attacking.
Yeah, because all of a sudden this is going to win.
Yeah, this one's looking real good.
Yeah. So now there's a proxy, but no money.
So I wonder, because Zerg workers get the little bit of regen, right? They can regen their health, but it feels like Terran would just be so strong as
He's
far as
got-
worker pulls go.
He's got like 2 seconds to cancel this warp gate because he does not have minerals.
Yeah, no, that's a GG. That's
Yeah.
a game 3.
Yeah, that's it. So we're gonna get it. So you can't build anything unless somehow these probes go back home and mine 5 minerals to continue the economy. Then that's it right there. So yes, clearly something we didn't quite get to see that as we jumped in, but I think what happened, I assume, is the 5 workers that were going across last time ran into a probe that was coming to his base and chased it all the way back to his own base.
Yeah,
That's what I'm assuming happened. This time, because the 2 probes split to the top path and the bottom path, and the drones went through the middle.
so it just
And
happened.
so they
to,
missed
avoid
each
it.
other, and so it went to the worker line. So, yeah.
What I
So
would
there you
love to see in future iterations. Well, I guess I don't know how hard it is to like select minerals on the opponent's side. I guess that may have to be like map specific.
Mhm.
But mineral walking
Yeah.
and clumping your units up and then mineral walking to the other side, I feel like A would avoid the attack move shenanigans that happened game 1.
Yeah.
But also you would actually be able to get those 5 drones hitting at one time, which is why
Yeah,
that
yeah.
number is so perfect, you know?
Yeah, I think we've seen that done to the idea of the mineral walk drill through buildings. We've
Yeah.
also seen people do. But yeah, so it's definitely doable. Almost anything where the limitation is micro, you could do it then, because that's just not a limitation. Now, why once again we're getting this weird sort of like lings running up and refusing to attack a building?
It's
I
like
don't
too
know.
good, you know. It's
Yeah,
like this
yeah.
seems too easy. There's got to be
Yeah,
a
like
DT
it's a trap.
something.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on here, but the Muta will at least clean it up.
That mini map looks like an ant colony just
Yeah.
grabbing food or something.
Yeah, they're not even really, again, they're poking at the gateways on the other side, but they were taking forever to kill them too. So now we do indeed have a game number 3, and I have no idea what's going to happen in the third game now. It's
I
going
feel
to
like-
be, I guess, the map.
Yeah, I feel like if the drones don't run into the probes, or if Sharkbot stays in his base,
Hmm.
I feel like that did not look that close. Like the actual worker fight was just so heavily in Dovakin. Well, how do you say his name?
Dovakin.
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 I feel like
Have you
the fight-
played Skyrim, bro?
I played a little bit.
Yeah.
I never finished it. I tried to kill someone, they wouldn't let me kill him, and I was like, all right, this is.
Should be. I think the only ones they don't let you kill are children.
No. He was
Did
like
you
part of
try
the
and-
quest or something. All right, chill.
Yeah. There is I know there's specifically a mod that lets you kill the
Lets you
children.
kill, yeah.
Yeah,
Of course
there
there is.
has to be.
There's a mod that I'm sure lets you play as like Ronald McDonald or you
Oh,
know.
yeah. I like
Body
the,
communities are wild.
there's a really good Thomas the Tank Engine. Turns all the dragons into Thomas the Tank Engines.
Oh well, have you seen?
Yeah.
So I'm from Ohio. Have you seen the Ohio one
No.
where the dragons are just states of Ohio? They
Oh
come in.
yeah. Nice. Nice.
That's big where I'm
Gotta try
from.
that.
Yeah.
Gotta try that. Gotta try that. All right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think again, map dependent. You're right on if Sharkbot doesn't move out anyway. Now that it's lost with the proxy, it's more likely to change build orders to something entirely. Could, go for a wall off. Could do whatever. I think anything that puts like a probe out front that's gonna be in the way of the drones or attract their attention may be beneficial to them. But we'll see, because Sharkbot didn't look like, I think if he had everything at home maybe he eventually wins that, but with like 4 workers left. But
Oh, if
it
like the
didn't
zealots
look,
could build at home or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it didn't look healthy. Like, yeah, it didn't look like he was responding to 5 drones very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the good pack. But we'll jump in and we'll see for our final match of the night.
Sharkbot. Dovakin.
All right, let's see these drones.
See how they do. See how they do. Yeah. So not okay. I was going to say not distracted by the buildings, and the other 4 were. So the first one will die there. I think that's unfortunate.
Like that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it looks like now it's not enough to do that, like 2-shot. But still going okay here. He's not really responding well, but he's going to eventually get them. Yeah. And he's not been able to finish off. There's 1. Will he even get a second? If he doesn't at least get 2, this is a disaster.
He'll get 2. Okay. Man, I feel like if Sharkbot just respected it a little bit more,
yeah,
that was a 0 probe loss easy. You know, he was only attacking with like 2 probes at a time or something.
Yeah. So yeah, not a great start there. We'll see.
No
okay,
way.
Well, doing it again.
No way. After the gateway's like
you can't
coming
do it
down.
again. Yeah.
And like you have Zerglings available. Like you can just build lings instead of send your drones.
Yeah, he's replacing the drones. Yeah, don't work. And then
that's crazy.
Still sending 4.
Also, Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to see if these get blocked by the buildings or like distracted. Okay, not. Very indecisive.
I was gonna say also going for the high ground wall off with Sharkbot is very interesting, and so it's almost even more anti-cheese than just not proxying. You know?
Yeah.
Double gate, triple gate. Sorry. Zealots on the way. Yeah, I mean this is looking pretty brutal for Dovakin.
Yeah, they're just not working together this time. Last time I thought they worked, like they were picking a target, focusing it down. They're not. So yeah, just not going well there. The Zealot is out. The Zealot's not helping yet, but it will.
The one drone by itself is doing like way more work than the other drones. He's taking on like 3 probes by himself.
Yeah, this is even it up a little in terms of losses, but it's too late. And the fact that it's, I don't know what happened there. Did he recall?
Well, I think he proxied
the probe.
Yeah, proxy at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Ling's
so I think it's just a pylon gate.
Ling's sneaking in, but then turning around to fight the Zealot. Not what you want. Yeah, and the adapt out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is going to go Dovakin's way.
The slow trickle is going to be pretty rough with the Zealot Adept.
Yeah.
And once that warp gate finishes and the pylon proxy, 4 Adepts, 4 Stalkers, choose whatever you want to build, but that's probably going to end it right there.
Yeah, that Zealot totally does not understand its assignment.
What he's supposed to be doing.
At all. Yeah. Just not standing in the right place and then moves out of the way. But either way, it'll be fine. The Adepts got him.
Yeah, I mean, more lings are coming, but it is just not going to be enough. I mean, maybe if Dovakin had grouped up all of his lings at home and just really braced for impact, but
yeah, if you can catch like this Stalker and Adept out, but it seems like they're not even considering that. They are just kind of on a move command across, and they're not going to tackle anything. And now there's too much stuff out there.
Yeah.
They're still going to get in. So it's very
that Zealot's pissing me off, but
no.
Yeah, I wonder also if there was some way for if Dovakin could like understand that the wall off is in the main, and it's like Sharkbot's committed to this one base, so that he would be able to take a more defensive kind of position. But yeah, as it is now, these stalkers and the depths are just gonna wreck everything.
Yeah, they're there now, and nothing will turn these away. I'm not sure what the one base layer was gonna be too, because like, what can you do? Well, I guess last time, yeah, this is what he would do.
Spire,
he went to
the
Spire,
one muta.
but like, what's that for? Yeah, and it's not like he had a bunch of gas saved. You can rush into one base muta if you've got like 800 gas to dump, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he can afford one half muta.
Yeah. So yeah, looks like Sharkbot, without really doing much this game, will probably end up taking it. Well, not probably. He does. Yeah, just will eventually take these things out as more adapts. He's still not really focus firing on anything. It doesn't matter at this point, but yeah, some units just kind of chilling.
It's crazy to see how well game 2 went for Dovakin.
Yeah.
With how this one went and even how game 1 went. I wonder how often it looks like game 2. Because game 2, I thought maybe Dovakin was just going to take the series. You know, as long as like the mid-map chase didn't happen.
Yeah.
But this one was like kind of exactly what you wanted. You know, like everything's in his main, nothing to distract, and it's still just not quite working out.
Yeah, he just let himself get distracted with the pylon.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, so Dovakin will go down to the losers match in this one. I think that will be a fairly good losers match as Sharkbot advances onward in this. And let's see, can we pull up the results for tonight, the brackets going forward?
Yeah, it's going to be Dovakin and Roach, right?
Yeah,
let's look at Group C first.
So Group C. So advancing on is Benbot BC versus Katro. They've, I think, fought a number of times in the past. And then we're going to get Ender versus Perilous Protoss Spot in the losers match. And I'm kind of thinking Perilous is probably the dangerous one there. It looked like it had a lot of capabilities to play a full game. So overall good stuff, and I missed whatever you said in my ear. But yeah, then on, so next week is going to be the winners match first, I think. Yeah. So we'll get Benbot and Katro next time. Should be pretty good. Then in Group D, we had Zeno advancing over EPN Roach, and Sharkbot taking it over Dovakin in the 2-1 matchup here. That one's going to be pretty good. Sharkbot again with a lot of things up its sleeve, and Zeno as a random bot. You never really know what you're going to get out of those two when they meet. And then EP and Roach versus Dovakin. That should actually be pretty good too. If Dovakin is aggressive. Well, there's always the gut check of you find out whether a bot has any worker rush defense programmed into it. And we'll find that out a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a very fun ZVZ where they both kind of nuke each other back to nothing. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a very weird game that is very low, eco,
Yeah, for sure. Group A, also next week. Again, the winner match will go. So Tears Terran versus Zozo. Zozo slipped in with the 2-1 victory over Kaninana. And then the losers match is going to be Krillin versus Kaninana. Probably, I would expect Kaninana to pull that one out, but we'll see. Haven't seen enough from Krillin yet to make too many decisions. And then Group B, finally, the winners match next week is going to be Micro Machine versus Phobos. That one will be really good. Phobos, for those who don't know, is the new iteration, or not iteration, but like from the author of Eris, and against Micro Machine, who is 80 years old at this point and has just been around for forever and is still really good. And then the losers matchup there, I don't know who to pick, will be Phantom Bot versus Nyonka. Alrighty. So I guess that's all there is for tonight. Hit a few of the plugs that I'm obliged to do. Go to ProBotsAI.com and help support this thing. Hit the like and subscribe button. Hit the notify, join, follow. What I don't know what they call things in YouTube. I think it's following. Whatever. If you want to super chat stuff, then do that. And yeah, like it's a great community, so get involved and do all that junk. And thanks Ban Yoshi for joining us tonight as your ProBots casting debut. It's been a pleasure.
It was very fun. Thank you for leading us through it, and you know all the bots and stuff, so it's much easier when I'm with a professional.
That's it. But now I have to do the plugs, and I'm bad at that because I never memorize them, and half the ones on the sheet are wrong. But also I think in the comments of this video, most people end up watching it not live, but there's links to stuff like how to get started in building a bot with templates for the bots and things like that. So it's a community that's like pretty welcoming and helpful if you want to get started with it. And Drekken, who runs this thing, has been doing some streams lately of himself trying to code a bot. I haven't seen it play yet. I've only seen it crash when I've tuned into his
Chill,
stream.
dude.
But I'm told that it plays.
Also that he's trying to build a bot. Not he's building a bot. He's attempting to start the attempt.
Yeah. Well, it's my understanding he's attempting to convince Copilot to help him build a bot. It's more than I've done, so it's still to be applauded. But I know that he's been streaming some of that stuff, and I've caught a little bit of it. So if you're interested at all to see kind of from scratch how you get these things going, he's been working on like a Zerg microbot for it, and I know that he has had some success with it. I just haven't witnessed it yet. It's easy to break things for sure.
Little love,
so,
just a little, just sprinkle it.
Definitely. So thanks for tuning in, and same time next week for the winners matches. See y'all then. Thanks again, Ban Yoshi and our production staff.
Thank you guys.